Today's daily LeetCode problem of the day is the longest square streak in an array number 2501. For this problem, we're given an integer array nums, and a subsequence of nums is called a square streak if the length of the subsequence is at least 2. And after sorting the subsequences, each element, except for the first element, is the square of the previous number. We want to return the length of the longest square streak in nums, or return -1 if there is no square streak in it. So a subsequence in an array is something that can be derived from another array by deleting some or no elements without changing the order of the remaining elements. So if we look at our input nums, and output is 3 because we can have the subsequence 4, 16, 2. We would get rid of 3, 6, and 8 because after sorting it, we would have 2, 4, 16. 4 is the square of 2, 16 is the square of 4, so therefore that is our subsequence, 4, 16, 2. In example 2, we do not have a square sequence or square streak, so we return -1. So for this problem, we are going to solve it efficiently by storing all the numbers in a set. This will allow us to quickly check if a number or its square currently exists. Next, we will use each number in our input to try to build the longest streak possible by squaring the number repeatedly and checking if that's in our set. We'll then track the longest streak, and we'll update our answer only if the current streak is longer than the previous one. We'll handle our constraints carefully, because if the square of the number exceeds 100,000, we'll stop because it's outside of the allowed range, as you can see down here. So let's go ahead and walk through this code. First thing first, we're going to set up a set that's going to store all of our numbers. So we're going to have a set. It's going to store integers, and we can call it our num set. And that's a new hash set. We'll then have a for loops for each integer num in our nums. We're going to add it to our num set. So num set dot add num. Boom, as simple as that. We add all of our numbers to our number set. So we're going to initialize. After that, we're going to initialize our longest streak. So integer longest is going to be equal to 0, as we currently do not have a streak. And then we're going to store all of our numbers in our hash set. So let's go ahead and start building our streaks. So we're going to try and build the longest possible streak. And we'll do this by iterating through each number in our input array and squaring it. And after we square it, we'll check if it's in our number set. So for each integer, start in nums, we're going to initiate a current streak so we can update our longest streak. So int current is going to be equal to 0. And then our long current num is going to be equal to our start num. We'll then continue our streak as long as the next square exists in our set. So while our num set dot contains the integer current num, so as long as our num set contains that number, we can increase our current streak by 1, and if current num times current num is greater than 1e5, which means the square would be longer than 100,000, we will break. Otherwise, current num is going to times equal current num. So we're going to increment our, here, we'll label it like this, current streak. So for each number in our nums, our current streak is going to start at 0. We're then going to keep track of our current number, and if our num set contains that current number, we're going to increment our streak by 1. And as long as our current number squared does not go outside of our boundary, we will continue. And we will square our current num, which will then go back through our while loop. If it's in our num set, we'll add it to our current streak again. So then our longest streak is going to be updated to be math.max of longest and our current streak. Boom. So after we do that, we can simply return our longest streak as long as it's greater than 1. So if it's less than 2, we're going to return -1 because just one number is not a streak. Otherwise, we're going to return our longest value. So as long as longest is at least 2 numbers or more, we will return our longest value. So if we run this, passes our test cases, and if we submit it, it passes all solutions. So thank you, and follow me for more daily LeetCode solutions.